Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. You might have had enough of me talking about how the legacy autos have a very slim chance of making the cut through to the EV industry, but there's still some of you who think they have a chance. As far as I can tell, their coffins are more nails than wood now, but let's just entertain a few more nails in the legacy auto coffins before they go off to rest in peace finally and stop poisoning and killing us. We'll be using some numbers to show that, as far as I can tell, they have absolutely no chance. The legacy autos are operating with their legacy systems and legacy moats. The problem is that these moats they've created for themselves are now stopping them from getting out, rather than keeping others from getting in. What was once before a barrier to entry has now become a barrier to exit the ICE industry and enter the EV industry. Their business systems simply don't work. Everything they've been doing over the last 100 years to build up these moats and barriers to entry are now against them. They've also become giant companies. And what was the one major thing that Karl Marx didn't think about with his ideology of socialism? Diseconomies of scale. So the legacy companies are so big, they suffer from enormous diseconomies of scale, which means they move very slow and inefficient in anything new they want to do. But anyway, that's not even the point I'm trying to make here. So let's look at some numbers that really hurt legacy autos' chances of ever competing with Tesla, and how it counts against them so much. Let's start with the car dealer network. Initially conceived by Henry Ford himself, a way to help funding manufacturing, the dealers buy numerous amounts of cars instantly from Ford, thus helping Ford's cash flow for the mass manufacturing they pay for. The business model stuck and was adopted by all manufacturers. These days, it's simply easier to sell directly to the consumer online, new technologies that legacy can't adapt to. Now, car dealers have to pay for showrooms, salespeople, and general costs of running a business, not to mention they'd also like to profit from it all. Of course, they have their servicing and parts business as well, but selling new cars is a business too. If dealerships receive 5% margin on car sales, and an average car sells for $40,000 in the US, then that's $2,000. These numbers seem to be about right. Okay, there we go. Instantly, all legacy autos are out 5% or around $2,000 per car compared to Tesla. 5% gross margin more Tesla gets instantly, if everything else was equal, which they are not. Now, not many consumers are going to be too convinced about buying a legacy auto EV in the first place. They don't have friends and family members raving on about how amazing they are. They simply have to buy one and don't know what they're missing out on. So instead, legacy has to convince people that they want these cars through advertising. Now, Ford spends over $2 billion a year on advertising in the US, and they sell about 2 million cars in the US. So they basically spend $1,000 on advertising per car sold. Now, Tesla spend $0 on advertising per car sold. Another $1,000 saved per car for Tesla. But I have a feeling legacy might need to increase that budget to convince people that much more to buy their electric cars. Now, here is something that is not mentioned much, but I read it in an economics book. The book was called The Financial Crisis and the Free Market Cure by John Allison. When they were talking about the car industry and one of the advantages the Japanese cars had over the American cars and how they were able to compete so competitively, and I've not heard anyone talk about this, or at least put a number on it, unions. Apparently unions in the US auto industry cost $2,000 per vehicle. Tesla is not unionized. Now, within time, these legacy car models become dated, and consumers start expecting the replacement model, so demand falls, and then the manufacturers drop the prices to counter the Osborne effect. This could in turn add to another $500 of cost, or loss of profit per vehicle. Tesla do not need to replace their models to keep up with the current fashions. They build timeless designed cars that are technology focused. Perhaps a new model update would add at least an extra $2,000 cost of capital for production restructure per model for the legacy autos. Then of course we have the cronyism side of running big auto, the lobbyists and regulation that have helped them maintain their market hold for so long. I could only speculate as to what that costs, but it's more expense that Tesla doesn't have to incur. Okay, bear in mind these numbers will differ for each manufacturer and model of car. It's meant to be shown as an indicative way of how legacy autos are going to have such a hard time, so please don't give me a hard time if you think the numbers differ slightly from what I say. But that's about $7,500 disadvantage that legacy autos face before they've even made a car. So what other advantages do Tesla have? Well, let's look at manufacturing. Tesla have their innovative die-cast molds and structural battery packs that within time will be how the majority of Tesla vehicles are constructed. With these manufacturing techniques, it's not just about the actual saving of materials, but also the fewer robots and less factory space that is required. Then the weight saving of the structural pack saves money again on fewer batteries being required to power a lighter vehicle. In addition to that, it increases the production speed on the line, which means Tesla have a higher output of cars per square foot, which means less capital expense per car. I think Tesla must save at least $2,000 a car due to these methods, although it could be significantly higher. Then there is the actual cost of Tesla's batteries. Well, GM is targeting to get below about $100 per kilowatt hour at the cell level, and they're going to go with pouch-style cells, the worst possible design for an EV, not to mention the most dangerous. Tesla's 4680s will get down to about $55 at the pack level, except Tesla's LFP batteries will again be about half that. Oh, and Tesla will need fewer batteries due to their overall efficiencies. I think $5,000 saving here is conservative too. So I think legacy autos would pay at least $5,000 extra for their car batteries over Tesla per vehicle. Tesla also have vertical integration. Legacy manufacturers outsource a huge amount of their components. All the companies that make these components, well, they like to make a profit doing it. If Tesla creates these components themselves, well, they get to add said profit to Tesla's margins. There may be another $2,000 there, and as Tesla continues to vertically integrate, then that number will keep increasing. There'll be tons of other cost advantages too Tesla have, but they do become a little hard to quantify. For example, legacy will likely suffer more recalls. They won't have the ability to do over-the-air updates for a lot of the issues either. I would say it's more than likely they'll run into many issues with their batteries. Teslas are more locally made, and thus cost less to transport and deliver. Of course, these are just the current cost savings of Tesla's current manufacturing techniques that we know of. For example, the new Berlin paint shop might save money on paint. Oh, but the best process is no process, as in the Cybertruck, which uses no paint. One more cost saving over, say, the Ford F-150 Lightning. Tesla's own insurance will more than likely be cheaper than insurance from Geico for a Ford Mustang Mach-E. Tesla know how safe Teslas are, better than any insurance company. Tesla even know how safe the drivers are. That might eventually save consumers another $500 a year, or $2,500 over the lifetime of the vehicle. But we'll just leave that out for now, as we don't have enough information, but it's a definite future cost saving. Legacy autos are also talking about spending $35 to $50 billion on achieving this too. The interest alone could be over $1 billion extra expense. There are likely far more economies of scale that I have not included, but let's run with this. Feel free to comment on anything else I could have missed. Now, the writing is on the wall in a big flashing neon sign that says, EVs are the future of transport. This means that ICE is the past. What happens to products in the past? Well, when's the last time you bought a CD? Implying that ICE demand won't just dwindle, it will totally drop. Especially now governments are behind the movement. It gives more validation and incentives to the consumers. So, ICE companies will suffer losses from the side of the business, whilst trying to grow and invest into EVs, of which they can't possibly scale anywhere near to the level they were with the ICE cars. Tesla is so far ahead, they secured all the supply chains for the essential ingredients for batteries. Everyone else has to fight over what is left. Okay, now what's our total? I think we're at $16,500 now. That is the cost advantage Tesla have over a legacy automaker, just for them to make an EV. Then we have their equivalent, which will have less range, less performance, much less safety. The screen will be an optional extra. Any level of FSD will be an extra. They won't handle as well. They won't break as fast, although they could break down much sooner. The $16,500 number probably isn't too far off the profit Tesla make per car. In other words, if these inferior vehicles compete with Tesla at the same price point, then they make no profit. They don't get their usual supplementary business of servicing either. Tesla can use their profits to further advance their vehicles, reduce costs, improve and innovate the product more, including existing owners' cars with over-the-air updates. A legacy car starts aging the second it comes off the line. Teslas stay up to date. In other words, Tesla increased their value proposition whilst decreasing their costs. Legacy autos are stuck breaking even on their electric cars, if they're lucky, whilst they have to pay for a sinking ICE ship. Okay, this is what is being discussed with the government now. How can the government help these companies survive this tumultuous transition? And how can they do it in the way that will least benefit Tesla at the same time? Hence why Tesla doesn't have a seat at the meeting. Oh yeah, and in 2 to 3 years' time, we'll have a mass-produced $25,000 Tesla, which will be the final nail in the ICE coffin. Just kidding. The final nail was about 100 nails ago. Now, remember, these figures are meant to be indicative only, but I think it's close enough to make the point I'm trying to get across. And if any of you work for legacy autos, then it might not be a bad idea to start sharpening up on your CV a bit. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.